Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. We are in the month of December, the first live stream of December. It's getting down to crunch time. The C word looms right around the corner, 3 weeks away, just in case you didn't need a little bit more prodding to hurry up and get it done. As you can see by the condition of everything behind me here, I have worked the pile down a little bit, but I have a little bit to go, to include a table saw pulled out. And somebody commented last week, it's starting to look like a shop in there. No, it's starting to look like a bomb went off in here. But I've got the big things done, and now we're focusing on smaller things. Uh, I'm going to try something a little bit different today. We're going to see if I can design a very simple project in Aspire right here live, and it dovetails into what I was just talking about. Having a CNC sometimes is a major blessing when we need a little tool or jig to help us get something done like right away now. And this is an example. This is a little drilling template that I came up with in Aspire to help me drill little 1/8 inch holes, exactly 3/4 of an inch in, both vertically and horizontally, so I could mount silicone feet on a project. And I whipped it up real fast in Aspire, and just took me a couple of minutes. So let me go ahead and we'll get into Aspire. And I'll show you first the completed project. Uh, and this is what it's going to look like when we're finished here. It is just a simple block of MDF. Now, the MDF that I have has a maple veneer on both sides, but just plain old MDF is good enough. It's a shop jig. It is a total of 4 vectors. So let's go ahead over here into a new session of Aspire, and I based this on the piece of scrap MDF that I had. This is 6 inches by 6 inches, and it everything worked out okay. You can use any size that you want. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and create a rectangle for my outside profile, and I'm going to anchor the center of that at my X and Y zero, which is in the center of the material for this. I want square corners, and I'm going to make it 3 inches by 3 inches. I'll go ahead and create that. Then I'm going to create 2 more rectangles. I'm going to start it up here at this corner, and I'm just going to kind of rough guesstimate the width and bring it down to this bottom edge here. I'm going to adjust this. Well, let's make it the width of it. Let's make it 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75. I'll click apply. I want to anchor that to the bottom left corner right here. And I'll click apply. Then I'm going to draw another rectangle horizontally right here. This is for that little boss that helps me seat this corner jig. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to anchor it at the same point, and I'm going to make that 0.75, click apply. Then I'll close that. Now I want to take both of these vectors right here, and I want to weld them together so that I have one closed vector. So with both of them selected, I'll come up here to weld, and I now have that one closed vector. That is my boss. But I need to put a clearance in here. As you can see on the real thing, I want to put that little dog bone fillet as a clearance so that the corner will fit in there with no issues, the corner of the material that I'm going to drill. So I'll come over here to the fillet tool, and I'm going to use a 1/2 inch diameter down cut end mill to cut this. So I need the tool radius here is 1/4 of an inch, so 0.25, and I want a dog bone fillet. A normal fillet would just round this corner off and make it even worse. A dog bone fillet will add that fillet to the outside here. So I put my crosshairs up here in the corner, and you can see the little check mark come up. Click it, and now I have that fillet right there. Okay, now I need to draw one more rectangle because I want to pocket this area out. So we'll come over here, and I'll anchor it on the center of my material again, X0, Y0, and I'm going to make this 2.75 inches wide and 2.75 inches tall. We'll create it. Then I need to move it. So we'll go ahead and click it again to go into move and transform mode. And I'm just going to slide it over here so that that's even with that boss. Then I'll come down here, slide it up so it's even with that edge of the boss. I got a little bit off here. Let's scoot it over. There we go. Yeah, let's get real picky. Let's go up right here. There we go. Now we're set. All right, now I need to draw a guide, a vertical and a horizontal guide, just so I know where to put my 1/4 inch diameter, or excuse me, my 1/8 inch diameter hole. I'm going to drill a hole here, which will be the actual drilling guide hole that you can see right there. So I'll pull a guide over here and pull a horizontal guide right here. Now, the easiest way I have found to adjust the position of these guides is to right click, and I have a current position of -0.75. Without doing a lot of math, let's go ahead and just let the built-in calculators do it. I want this guide to be 3/4 of an inch above that boss. So here on my keyboard, I'll go plus 0.75 equals, that's my new position, it just happens to be 0. Close that, and I'll come over to the horizontal or the vertical guide, and I'll do the same thing. And that is plus 0.75 equals, click apply, close, and now this intersection is 3/4 of an inch above this edge of this boss here, and 3/4 of an inch to the right of this boss here. Now I can come up here to draw a circle. I want a 1/8 inch radius hole, or excuse me, 1/8 inch diameter hole. And I'll come up here, put my crosshairs right there where those guides intersect, and click, close. Now I can hide my guides, and the drawing is done. Now I see IL has a question. Actually, there is a way to align those lines together without zooming in, zooming out, and moving. I was just trying to be quick about it. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. We'll select it, and I'll move it out of the way. I'll come over here to align. And what I want to do is I want to select this one, hold down shift, and select my boss last. Okay. And I want to go to the inside edge, align to the selection. This aligns to the last item I selected, which would be the boss. So I'll go to the inside edge. Whoops, wrong one. Control Z. I want to go to the outside edge. Excuse me. No, that's not right either. Hmm. It's going to go to the inside edge right here. Yeah, no. All right. Never mind. Just turn on geometry snapping and it should snap right down if you're careful. Yes, that's going to go to the inside edge. That's why. It's going to come over here to this one. It's not going to come to this one. Well, hey, I tried. Not quick, but accurate. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, let's go ahead and toolpath this. Now, it's only 4 vectors, but believe it or not, it does require a few different toolpaths here. I'm going to do a drilling toolpath for the 1/8 inch. I'm going to do that one first. I'm going to drill to the thickness of the material. So I'll just type in Z equals because I don't remember how thick my material is. And I will select the bit. The bit I'm going to use is a 1/8 inch upcut end mill. And there is that. And I'm not going to worry about peck drilling. It's a 1/8 inch straight in, straight out, done. Calculate, and there's my first toolpath. Let's go back in here. Why am I not seeing it? Start depth, yes. Make sure I have the vector selected. Yes, I do. Okay, close. All right. Then I'm going to come along and pocket this area out. And I'm going to, it's 3/4 inch material. So I'm going to cut through half of it. And that, I know that that's 3/8 of an inch. So we'll go 0.375. And I want to get rid of that. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch 2-flute end mill. And I'll do raster, and I want the profile pass to be last. And I will call that main pocket. Main pocket. We'll calculate it, and there it is right there. Okay. I'll close that, go back over to, now I want to do the boss. And this is where I just made a mistake. What I should have done was I should have put that boss on its own layer. So I have it selected now. Let me go ahead and move to layer, new layer. Let's call it boss. This is what I get for trying to hurry through this. I forget steps. And I'll make it blue. Okay. That way I can find the boss and not the outer border. I should have put the pocket on its own layer as well. I'll do that in a second. I want to do a profile toolpath for this boss. So I just want it to carve around the inside and outside and make sure to get that little fillet in there. So I'll do a profile toolpath. Start depth is 0, but I only want it to carve down to the area this pocket has taken out. So that's 3/8 of an inch. So I will 0.375. I'll use my 1/2 inch end mill again. Select and want to cut to the outside. I don't need to do a separate last pass. I'm not going to add tabs, but I am going to add a smooth ramp over a distance of an inch. And we'll call that, get rid of the number there. We'll call that the boss profile. Calculate. And uncheck this, and I'm going to preview all of them at once. And now here is my outer perimeter. This is just going to be a standard profile toolpath. Now, because I've already pocketed this out, this will start at 3/8 of an inch deep. Because I've already gone around the outside of this to 3/8 of an inch, we're going to go ahead and start this at 3/8 of an inch and then cut the remaining 3/8 of an inch. So 0.375, and that's just to keep from having keep from cutting air for the first couple of cuts. I will do a separate last pass with an allowance of 10 thousandths of an inch. I'm going to go ahead and add tabs. I'll make the thickness 1/4 of an inch and the length 1/2 inch. Edit the tabs. I'll put one here and one here. So I don't want it to break away. That should hold them. They're pretty long and pretty thick. I'll ramp in my tool paths, a smooth ramp over a distance of an inch. Make sure I'm leaving sharp external corners. And then call this cutout. Calculate it. Let's see here. IL says, could you not remove the corners of the lines of that block? Remove the corners of the lines that block the entrance to the dog bone area and just pocket it all together in one tool path? Probably could. Probably could. Sure. There's more than one way to skin the proverbial cat. So however you want to do it, go right ahead. This is just the way I did it. So now we'll check, uncheck that, and I'm going to preview all of the tool paths. And there is the finished product. That's how I would cut it, machine it, and get the whole thing done. That's how I did cut it, machine it, and got the whole thing done. Without the tabs, it ends up looking like so. And here's the fun part about this. That just took me 18 minutes to explain everything. And it's gonna actually, it took less time than this. This says it's going to take 1 minute 10 seconds to cut. The actual machining time for this, not counting tool changes, was 55 seconds. Yeah, you could do this with a handheld router. Yeah, you could cut it on the table saw, but it is very quick, very easy. It took me longer to tell you how to do it than it did to actually do it. It's just one of those things. And, I marked it. This is 3/4. I could make another one for 1/2 inch, put it in my jig drawer. And then when I need something, there it is. It's ready and raring to go. So just a quick little easy project that you could do. You could probably, if you have a large piece of MDF like this one, you could probably do 3 or 4 of them. Just lay out a bunch of them for different spacings. Then when I need to use it, all I do, let me stop sharing here. When I need to use it, all I do is I take this side with that boss there, throw it right up against the corner like so, and start drilling. Put a drill stop on my drill bit, and then I go to the correct depth. Quick, easy little template, and ba-boom. IL says you can make several holes in the same one. Yes, that's true. But I find that eventually these holes will start to wear. And if you get them too close together, like for instance, if you went 3/4 of an inch, then a 1/2 inch, remember the diameter of your hole, you're going to have two holes real close together. The probability is they're going to break through into one another. So, for 55 seconds of cutting time, you can throw on a larger piece of scrap and cut 3 or 4 of them out for different distances if you wanted. And if you really wanted to get tricky, drill a hole out here and put them all on a chain or piece of twine or uh, a zip tie for that matter. Just throw them all in the drawer. Then when you need one, you got them all together. Templates and jigs are real easy to make. They're actually, I'll be honest, they're pretty satisfying simply because you get a lot of instant gratification out of it. You know, uh, like I said, 55 seconds of work. There's no finishing involved. And when this thing wears out or the hole gets too big or what have you, make another one. So, that was an experiment in attempting to design something really fast live. And I'm glad it didn't go totally south. While I have Aspire open and up here, that's the one I can close that. Let me get set up here. That'll work. Okay. I had a question from Darwin Vaden Bosch. Says he's trying to write text on the clip art of an open book. Do I have to have Aspire or can it be done in VCarve Pro? If you have the clip art in VCarve Pro, you can do it. It doesn't have to be Aspire, but I'm not sure if that clip art comes with VCarve Pro. But the open book project is available over on Design and Make if you don't have it. Uh, if you do have it and you have it open in VCarve, the thing to remember, let me go ahead and share again here, is when it comes time to actually do the text, let me grab something on my clip art here. I'm just going to do a dome. Let's do that one. And come back to the drawing tab. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller here. Hold down shift and drag it in just a little bit. Okay, then I'm going to come up here to text. Let that load. I have too many. All right, we're going to select a font. I have too many fonts here. And I'll just do my first name. And we'll center it, close it, and I'm gonna have to reduce it, hold down shift, and let's make it about like so. Take it into the center. Okay, and that's it. That's my design. Now, obviously, you're gonna have the book and you're gonna have whatever text it is you want. The thing to remember when you actually go to carve this, let's go ahead and select the text. Obviously, you'll do your finishing toolpath first. Let's go ahead. Model thickness exceeds material thickness. Okay, well, let's set it. New height is, let's say, 0.5. What the heck? The cheat way to get it all working. Close and bring that up. There we go. And okay. don't need that. Remove. In fact, I can remove that one, and let's cheat and use my 1/2 inch ball nose. Select. Make this as quick as we can. Calculate. It's not a very detailed project, and preview it. When it comes time to actually do the text, okay, you'll do a V-carve toolpath, and I'm not going to use a flat depth. I will select a 60-degree V-bit. No, I won't either. I don't have one installed, and I don't want to take the time to install it. Let's use a 90-degree V-bit. The thing to remember when you get down here, project the toolpath onto 3D model. That's the important part. If you don't put a check mark here, what VCarve is going to do is just air cut that text and not get all of it. Whatever happens to touch the top of the model is what'll touch the top of the model. But by putting a check mark there, you don't have to go with a start depth. You don't have to do anything. It knows to project this text down onto the shape of the 3D model. So we'll click calculate, and we can see right here that that text toolpath is following the shape of that dome. So back out a little bit and we'll preview it, and there it is. So that's the important part right there, is that little check mark in project toolpath onto 3D model will make or break your project. So, alrighty, and I hope that answered your question. Okay, it looks like I did answer your question. Okay, terrific, terrific. All right, let's see here. We had a couple of others. Michael Kelsey says, thank you for doing these. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. When I calculate tool paths for text in VCarve Pro 10.5, I often get paths with the bit moving back and forth across the work. How can I make the tool path more efficient? Well, let me go back over here and just say that efficiency is in the eye of the beholder. And a lot of times, what looks like an inefficient tool path to us isn't to the control system. Now, I know this is very simple, but if you look at the red lines here on the tool path, and remember the key, red is a rapid move, dark blue is the actual cut, light blue is a plunge, and green is a retract. Okay. Excuse me. So this is going to come from the Z0 position, move over here, plunge down. It's going to cut the M, then lift up, come over and cut this part, lift up, and then move over, cut the R, then lift up, move over, and cut the K. That may look inefficient to us, but the post processor and the computer take into account the where the bit is in X and in Y. So while we may think it would be more efficient for the CNC to start down here close to the XY0, if you happen to have it in the bottom left corner, and then run all the way across, then lift up and run all the way back over, that can actually take more time. I did a video on this about a little over a year ago, may have been over 2 years ago, because I had this discussion with a couple of people, and I ran the same tool path several different ways with several lines of text. And I found that in using it's like this one here is going to take 32 seconds. I found that changing the vector selection order to what I thought was more efficient was actually less efficient. And the difference, however, was we're talking fractions of a second. Now, I was using like 5 lines of text, and when I would calculate the toolpath and do the toolpath summary, they were maybe 1 second difference. And usually the toolpath that the computer came up with was the most efficient one. Now, again, I did a video on this a couple years back. I will go find that video and I'll link it down in the description of this video as soon as we're done here, and you can see my results. Now, Todd H. CNC makes an excellent point in that your start points, uh, they come into play too. You're absolutely right about that. And what he means by start points is, let's go back into the 2D view and uncheck the toolpath here. Select this, and I believe to go into node editing, yeah, I'm going to have to convert it to curves. If we look at the start points, and remember on letters like this, A, for instance, the reason you had 2 separate start and stop points was because you have an inside cut as well as an outside cut. So the start points, they enter into it as well. There's nothing really, I wouldn't say anything really wrong with this. I mean, you might be able to make from the R to the K, you might be able to right click and make that a start point. But when your machine is rapiding over, does the distance from here to here really make a lot of difference in machining time from here to here? You know what I mean? We're talking a fraction of a second here. You can go in and you can edit, you can create your own uh, vector selection order, uh, but I didn't find any benefit. The main reason to use a vector selection order, in my experience, has been to make sure if you have vectors that need to be cut before other vectors, because you're worried about interference or something like that, then that's a reason to use that. But when it comes to like V-carving text, I would say about 99 times out of 100, the standard toolpath that the software comes up with is the most efficient. Now, having said that, after uh, after version, I want to say 11.0, Vectric made some major changes to the way some of these toolpaths are calculated that eliminated a lot of that jumping around that you're talking about. And then that only got better in 11.5. So you say you're still using version 10.5. It may be time to go ahead and upgrade. As a matter of fact, the difference between 10.5 and 11.5 is huge. It is huge. It's a totally different piece of software now. They have made so many improvements under the hood. Uh, it would be time. I would highly recommend upgrading. And like I said, I may be mistaken, and Michael knows better than me, but I believe it was in version 11.0. They made some major changes under the hood that eliminated a lot of that jumping around that you're talking about. So, yeah, and Todd says, I mostly change start points for lead-ins. Yes, that's an excellent point. Is that also true for Aspire 11.5? Yeah, like as I said, they made a lot of major changes under the hood, and a lot of that unnecessary jumping around, or what we think is unnecessary jumping around, is gone. A lot of it is. There's still a little bit of it because when you have, let's say, the letter L that rises up above, it's finishing its cut up above the line of text that that letter L is in, and it's real close to a 6, or let's say for giggles here, it may jump up and go ahead and cut that 6 and then continue on that next line, then come back down and finish up that line because it's already up there and it's closer for it to move there than it is to come all the way back down and keep uh, cutting that line we think it should cut. It takes all of that into account, believe me. And I've done some pretty complex uh, V carves, and it just it jumps all over the place. So, but again, in 11.0 and later, that is reduced. It's still there, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. Okay, let's see here. Rich Stevens says, imagine I have array 10 rows, but 10 columns of 3/4 inch circles I want to profile cut. I would like my toolpath to start at the top of the first column, cut all of those, move over one, go up, move over one. Okay, that gets into vector selection order. And what you'll need to do is, it's a little bit of work on your part, and that is to create your array, go up to the row and column you want to start, select that row, hold down shift, go to the next row, select that shift, select that, then keep adding them in the order that you want them cut. Okay? Then when you get over to, let's close this and I'll bring you back into Aspire here. Let's just go ahead and show it. Then when you get over here to do your profile, and you're cutting to the inside of your vectors, let's see, use vector selection order, and then there's other checks here you can put in. You can take those out. You can use the vector selection order, which means that's going to machine in the order that you selected. If you don't want to do it that way, you can have it go left to right. You can have it go bottom to top. You can have it go in a grid. You can have it take the shortest path. Usually, I use the shortest path. So, that is the order. Okay, now you can also tell it where it's going to start. Move the start points to be closest to the selected point on your vector bounding box, right there. If you wanted, say, the top left to be the start. Okay, or you can keep the current starting points. So there are a lot of options that are available here that I've not done videos on, but that is the easiest way to do what you want to do, is select them in the order that you want to cut, and then go into uncheck that and check vector selection order. So I hope that answered that question. Let me take that down and go see. Holy cow, Darwin. Oh, you are the boss. the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you very, very, very much for that super chat. You people are awesome. You people are awesome. Oh man. Wow. Thank you. I appreciate it. And my grandkids will appreciate it because that'll go to Christmas presents. So they thank you as well. Let's see here. Rich, I hope that answered your question on that. Let's see. Burton B says, I found either changing to offset or adding a profile pass fix the problem. Why is this the case? Let me go back because I think I may have missed part of your question. Um, there we go. Question about the pocket toolpath. I tried making simple dados on a board and noticed the width was a little smaller than designed. I used raster. Okay. I found either changing to offset or adding a profile pass fixed the problem. Why is this the case? Okay, I'm going to assume that you were rastering with the length of that dado you were trying to cut. If you were going 90 degrees to that dado you were trying to cut, then you do need to add. Let me go back into Aspire here. Ba-boom. Let's go into the pocket toolpath. When you use raster, you can set your angle. Just so you know, 0 degrees on a raster angle is horizontal. 90 degrees is vertical. Okay. Here you have the option to add a profile pass or not. You can go profile, no profile pass. You can add the profile pass first, or you can have it done last after it clears away all the inside of the material. Generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, I have it do the profile last. Now, this also assumes that you have measured the material you're going to put into the you have measured the material you're going to put into the dado. And also remember that not all material is perfectly flat along its entire length. Now, you can also add a pocket allowance down here. If you find that that dado is running, let's say, I don't know if you're using imperial or metric, okay? But let's say you're using imperial and you find that the dado is just a bit too narrow. You would add a negative allowance. Let's say you measure it out and it's 10 thousandths of an inch too narrow. You would run a negative 0.01 allowance, and that will make that pocket cut 10 thousandths of an inch wider than whatever your vector is. Okay. Um, Carving dados can be pretty tricky, but the number one thing to do for dados is to make sure you measure the thickness of the edge that's going to be put into that dado in several places. And you'll see what I mean about it not being perfectly flat. So, but measure it in several places and try to size that dado as you'll need a little bit of allowance anyway, because if you're going to put glue in that dado and then glue a piece in, that glue is going to cause the wood to swell, whether it be plywood or a solid stock. The layers of the plywood run in different directions. One of them is going to swell a little bit. So practice in scrap if you can and get get that down. So, be as careful as you can. So, but just that's why cabinet shops have a builder's tolerance, usually a 64th of an inch on a dado, because you got to have room to be able to fit the panel down into that dado. So, and we were using dado saw blades that you couldn't adjust. You had to put shims in to space out the cutters to make it wider or narrower. So this is so much easier. Let's see here. Let me take that down. Gilroy Kilroy, channel member, Howdy Gilroy, says, I need to spray shellac. What is the spray gun you advocate and use? Okay. I am not a finisher. Okay. So take this with as many pounds of salt as you wish, not just a couple of grains. My experience with spraying finish is very, very limited. Be honest with you, most of the time I use a rattle can. But if I have something relatively large that I need to spray, I use what's called a critter sprayer. I'll put a link to one in the description as soon as we're finished here. It is very, very simple. It's a siphon feed sprayer that actually uses a 1 pint uh, a 1 pint canning jar. So you can mix up a finish and take it off of the sprayer, put a canning jar lid on it, put it in the cabinet, and go. Cleaning takes about 45 seconds. Whatever finish you're using, put the thinner for that finish in another 1 pint canning jar, screw it on, spray it into a garbage can for about 15, 30 seconds. It's clean. It's a very simple gun. It's a siphon spray gun. They're about $40 on Amazon. As I said, I'll put a link to one down in the description. They are not professional quality HVLP guns. They're for smaller projects. If you are going to be painting like a set of cabinets or something like that, this is not the tool for that job. If you're spraying a jewelry box or a smallish sign, no more than say about 24 inches by about say 16 inches, then it's a good option. I am not a finisher, as I say. I have very limited experience with HVLP equipment, and if you hand me a gun, I'm basically lost. I mean, I can use it. I'm just lost when it comes time to take it apart and clean it. Uh, I I hesitate to say I endorse it, the critter that is, but that's the one I use, and believe it or not, it does a very, very good job. Uh, Depending upon how big the project is, a rattle can of shellac is not expensive, and for that I use Zinsser Bullseye spray shellac. It is it advertises itself as wax free. And that's all I'll say about that, because I'm not going to tell you that it is or isn't, because I really don't know. It advertises itself as wax free. So, let's see. Peter Van Vliet says 3D roughing no longer has roughing strategy, Z level, raster Y. Is this covered in a different video? Well, let's go into Aspire and let's see. 3D roughing strategy, Z level, 3D raster. It's all right there, Peter. Z level is needed for the profile and the order. You'll need to select that. If you're doing 3D raster, all of that is all of that is done for you. But you can see I'm using version 11.503, and there it is right there. So, okay, let's see. Were there any other questions I didn't get to because I was doing something else? Okay, Rich Stevens says, thanks. My reason is to minimize scrap due to a random tool path, leaving pieces on an island with little hold down. Yeah, and that is in reference to the earlier comment. Where did it go? I lost you. Up there about cutting the rows. That is a legitimate concern as well. And that is one of those times that I would use a vector selection order, is when you're not sure if the scrap is going to be there or not. But for something that small, um, I don't know what size bit you're going to be using to cut that out. And I gotta tell you, this Avid CNC has really spoiled me because I'm doing a lot more with my half inch bit than I ever thought I would. Um, I just pocket it with the half inch, something 3/4 of an inch diameter. I'll just run a pocket with a spiral ramp, and it basically does a spiral drill all the way through, and there is no debris. And with a half-inch diameter, it's going to clear everything out, and it just goes up the dust collection tube. But if you don't have a half-inch bit, and they're not cheap, let's face it. If you don't have a half-inch end mill, then what can I say? Let's see. What looks different from Mark's earlier videos is the order option when selecting the Z level. Yeah, there are, oh, okay, the other direction. You're cutting 3/4 inch circles out of a sheet. You're not cutting 3/4 inch holes. Okay, gotcha. Never mind. In the words of Emily Latella. Yeah, then yeah, I get what you mean. And even more so, that's when vector selection order uh, can help out. Make sure you're not chucking pieces off of the table and chasing kids or customers out of the building with flying debris. Not that I've ever done that. So, let's see. Peter says 10.5 had raster direction along X along Y, but it looks to be gone now. Okay. Let's see. Boom, 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 and we go back into. Well, yeah, you just set it with your raster angle, and that's going to be the direction. If you set your raster angle to 0, it's going to go across along your X. If you set your raster angle to 90 degrees, it's going to move along Y. So it's just changed the name, because you no longer have to go just along X or just along Y. You can go 40 degrees or 45 degrees if you want, and it'll go in a diagonal. So you're talking about the profile. I don't think I use it. I generally speaking don't. Well, I have. I won't say I don't. So okay. Well. Oh, okay. All right. See, gotcha. All right. Yeah, it was. It's. I don't know. It's kind of. I guess it was redundant to have raster along X and Y, uh, along with the raster angle. Um, so I guess they just decided to combine it. So I don't know. I don't have any behind the scenes knowledge. I know just as much as you guys do when it comes to that kind of stuff. And getting in under the hood, like I watched, I believe it was not this most recent user group meeting, but at the it would be the 2021 user group meeting. They had the virtual user group meeting. They had a segment on creating your own uh, gadgets. And I thought, oh, that would be cool. Then I found out it was programming in LUA, and I'm like, okay, I'm lost. Check, please. Call me Casper. I'm a ghost. So, let's see. And this will be the last question here. Mark, is it safe to assume that replacing a 16th inch taper ball nose um, with a 1/4 inch shank with a 16th inch taper ball nose with a 3/8 inch shank and double the feed and plunge rates to decrease the machining time? Maybe, maybe not. At the end of the day, that is still a 1/16 inch bit. You may be able to push it a little bit faster, but it's still a 1/16 inch tip on that bit, and it's just as fragile no matter how strong the shank is. So I think doubling the feed and plunge rates may be a bit optimistic. You might want to practice and scrap and see how that actually works. But you know, I never ask who's going to get the joke. I always say the right people will get the joke. You, sir, are the right people. So, yeah, you may be a little bit optimistic in thinking double the uh, feed and plunge rates, but because the weak point of that bit isn't the shank diameter, it's the tip diameter, and it's gonna break when it wants to break. So, okay, boy, it's been over a little over an hour. Thank you very much. Actually, it was Emily Latella, but score yourself 5 bonus points for knowing one of her characters. Never mind. Um, Now I'm going to have people. Never mind. Never mind. Don't get stuck on it. We'll go ahead and we'll call this good for today. Whether you're out in your shop or not, whether you're finished with the C word or you're just getting started or you're like I usually am and completely lost, remember the reason for the season. Enjoy the folks who are around you. And without getting maudlin, love them like today is the last day you'll see them, because one day you will be right. And I know that all too well. Um, remember, members only live stream tomorrow at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Uh, we've got a few things to cover, some unfinished business from last week. And let's see. Yeah, the less said about that, the better. If you would like information on how to become a channel member, like these fine folks that you're seeing out here in the chat with that little cool badge right next to their name, just click that join button down there next to the subscribe button. You're not obligated to anything. A little panel will pop up and a video will play that'll tell you about channel memberships. We do hope you'll join us. We have a great crowd that pops in on Mondays, and hope you will join us as well. Until next week, and next week I have no idea what I'm going to do, but we'll figure something out. Yeah, let me just say, get out in the shop, go do something cool, go make some chips, get those presents finished. You've only got 3 weeks. You can do it. If I can do it, anybody can, because I was going to procrastinate, but I decided I'd wait until tomorrow. Thank you again, everybody, for joining me, and y'all have a great week. See you next week. Y'all take care.